Good morning. This is the story of Judah and his daughter-in-law Tamar. Judah was not the best of men. He did save Joseph's life by selling him to the Ishmaelites, but that's the best you can say about him. However, he was an ancestor of Jesus Christ. So how? Judah married a certain Canaanite woman, and it seemed that he did love her, because when she eventually died, he mourned her for quite a long time. In the meantime, she bore him 3 sons, the eldest, Onan the second, and Shelah the third. When was grown, Judah found him a wife, Tamar. Now it seems that Tamar has come from the family of Jacob, because she appears to have more morals or more ethics than the Canaanite woman who Judah married. So, however, was wicked, probably because his mother was a Canaanite, and she might have given him Canaanite ethics rather than Israelite ones. Now here's the interesting thing. Judah said to Onan, his second son, "Go into your brother's wife and perform the duty of a brother-in-law to her, and raise up offspring for your brother." Now, we're familiar with brother-in-law marriage because it was prescribed in the Mosaic law, but that was several centuries in the future. So where did this custom come from? Well, I'm going to guess, and you might like to give your own views in the comments. The Israelites were well aware of God's promises in Genesis chapter 3 that the Messiah, or the seed of the woman, was going to crush the works of the devil. And then they also knew that this seed was going to come through Abraham. So all of Abraham's descendants wanted to be involved in producing the seed, or the Messiah. So it was really important that their names were kept in the record of the genealogy of Israel. So Onan was supposed to raise a child who would bear his first brother's name. But Onan knew that this child wouldn't be his own, so he made sure that Tamar didn't give birth to a son. Now God felt that was wicked as well, so he destroyed Onan too. Judah has now lost 2 sons, so he's a bit worried about his 3rd son. So he says to Tamar, "Look, go back to the house of your father, wait until Shelah's grown up, and you will become his wife." So time passes. Judah's wife dies, and he mourns her, and Shelah grows up, but Tamar is not given to him as a wife. Now she's upset about this, so she thinks, what can I do? She discovers that Judah is going to go on along a certain road, so she waylays him and dresses herself up as a prostitute, covers her head. Judah goes into her and says, "Can I come into you?" And she says, "Well, what will you give me? What payment?" And he says, "I'll give you a young goat from the herd." She says, "Oh, yes, well, you give me a pledge to make sure that you actually do give me the goat." So Judah gave her his signet ring, a cord that was probably a sort of round his neck thing, and his staff. She conceived a child by Judah. Judah, the next day, gets this young goat, and by the means of a friend, sends it to this supposed prostitute to pay her and get back his pledges. But they can't find her. They ask around, and there's no such prostitute, and they've no idea who she is. So Judah thinks, oh, well, I've done what I can do, and he forgets about it. 3 months later, people go to Judah and say, "Your daughter-in-law, Tamar, has committed adultery and she's pregnant." So Judah, and this is horrific, says, "Bring her out and we'll burn her." They've got their morals upside down. Anyway, on the way to being burned, Tamar sends to Judah and says, "These pledges belong to the father of the child." Judah then realizes that she, Tamar, was far more righteous than he was. He had not given her to Shelah to bear a child for the firstborn son, her first husband. So eventually Tamar gives birth to twins. There's a bit of a story there, but you can read it in Genesis 38, verses 27 onwards. And she bears Perez and Zerah. Now Perez is very important because he is an ancestor of Jesus Christ. Now he would have inherited the belongings of the firstborn son of Judah, who died. But what's interesting is that when the genealogy of Jesus is written out in both Matthew and Luke, the real father is mentioned. Judah is mentioned as the father of Perez. Now, we go on a few centuries later to the story of Ruth. By this time, brother-in-law marriage is well known and it's in the Mosaic law. And if there is no brother, then a near relative will raise a son for the dead man's name. And in Ruth's case, Boaz was a near relative of her first husband, who had died, obviously. Now, Ruth was the daughter of Naomi. She was a Moabite woman, a relative of some sort of the Jews by Lot, the nephew of Abraham, but a distant relative. But she had faith and she loved this God, Jehovah God. So she became a daughter-in-law to Naomi, and the first son that she had by Boaz, a relative of Naomi's, would belong to Naomi and would bear the name of Naomi's husband, Elimelech. And this is what the women said to Naomi. May this woman who is coming into your house be like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. Then they say, may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring that the Lord will give you by this young woman. So to be an ancestor of Jesus Christ the Messiah was a high honour, and the story of Tamar was very important. Her faith, her righteousness, although it's probably different to the customs that we would have today. She wanted to be involved in the producing of the Messiah. Thank you so much for watching Genesis 38. God bless you all.